Hello, welcome and good evening. Today I have the 8bitdo M30 Bluetooth gamepad. First of all, there are a variety of 8bitdo gamepads, and the reason why I picked this one in particular is because I not only want to use it on the Raspberry Pi or on the Mac or other computers, but also on the Sega MegaDrive or Genesis. Because, let's face it, this is one of my original controllers. It's already pretty mushy, and I will have to repair it at some point and see if I can get some replacement. And also, it's nice to have something which doesn't have a wire, so I can sit further away from the television. And that's where the M30 comes in, because it is actually in the style of a Genesis 6-button controller. It uses Bluetooth, but to make it work with all the Sega devices, you can buy this here. This is the 8bitdo Retro receiver, and this is the Sega version, which uses the Atari 9-pin joystick port. And I've tried it on the 2600 as well, but there needs to be a modification because this needs power, and in the default setting and the pinout of the 2600, this will not be powered. So this will be for another video. Yeah, but today I want to show you how to use this thing on the RetroPie and also test it quickly out on the MegaDrive, because that's my two main applications, and I will also quickly check out if it works on the Mac, for example. And furthermore, it will then definitely also work on Windows. That shouldn't be a problem because it's of course on here. So let's open this up and then use it. So the box is quite nice. The controller itself isn't that cheap, but still quite affordable. And when we take a look in the box, there's some very small piece of paper with information in English and Chinese, I think, how to pair the device and everything. So here you see all the buttons. The controller itself feels very nice. The buttons are actually much better than on my old mushy gamepad, so you feel definitely pressure point. You also have left and right shoulder buttons. These are not analog, these are really click buttons, and some extra buttons here. So on the Sega MegaDrive you have the start button and ABC, and on the 6-button controllers XYZ, plus the D-pad, and that's it. So we have the D-pad, ABC, XYZ, and the start button, plus the shoulder buttons, and you also have the start button, a select button, and a home button. So select would probably be for stuff like Nintendo, I guess. I think the Famicom and the Nintendo Entertainment System, they had the select button, I think. Yeah, but it feels solid, not too heavy, but the build quality is definitely very nice. And it comes with a USB-C port here and a reset button here. And the USB-C port is obviously for charging. And I'm not sure if you can use it also to use the controller as a wired device, but maybe we'll find out. So it also comes with a USB-C charging cable, or probably data. Yeah, I have to check that. But that's nice. It's not very long, like maybe half a meter or so. So this is quite okay. And I've already charged it before, so it should be good to go. And the little dongle here for the Sega MegaDrive, it's very simple. So this plugs into the joystick port or gamepad port, and it's, as I said, 9-pin Atari compatible. There's a pairing button and a little, very little USB 2 cable mini B, micro B, whatever that is, for updating the firmware actually. And there should be, yeah, there's support here. And you can update the firmware of this device via your computer, obviously. Same goes, I think, for the M30 as well. So this is for charging and definitely for upgrading the firmware as well. Okay, so these are the pieces that we need. Let's put it aside and fire up the RetroPie. First time you boot up your RetroPie, it will not know about your gamepad at all, and even not about your keyboard. You have to set up a controller, and I assume that you already set up the keyboard. Otherwise, check out one of the many RetroPie tutorials or the documentation on how to do that. However, attaching a Bluetooth controller is a little bit of a different beast. You first have to go to the RetroPie section, hit the A button to enter that section, and then go down to the Bluetooth section. This will launch a text mode interface, similar to the Raspberry config interface. And there you will have different options, and it takes a couple of seconds to load, but then just hit the register and search for Bluetooth devices. Power on your M30 and put it into pairing mode by hitting the pairing button at the backside between the two shoulder buttons for 3 seconds, and after like maybe at most half a minute of searching, hopefully you will see the device, and yeah, it will show up as M30 or wireless controller depending on which mode you selected, be it Android mode or macOS mode. And either of those should work. If you have troubles with any of them, consult the manual and pick a different mode. Okay, now we can try to actually set up the gamepad. Let's see if it will be detected in Android mode. One gamepad detected. Well, this looks good. So we press one button. D-pad up, down, left, right. Start, select button A, B, X, Y. Left shoulder. Right shoulder. Oh, it does not work. But left trigger and right trigger works. Well, this is good enough, I think. So we can just go down. Hotkey enable, yes. We need that. Let's take star. Doesn't work, but button 2 works. Fair enough. And then we are done, hopefully. No. Okay, good. So we managed to configure this, including the shoulder buttons, which is nice. So now I can use the M30 actually to control the whole of this. So I can fire up any emulator here and start a game. And yeah, it took me a while to figure that out. I mean, you can just run it in normal mode and then lose the shoulder buttons, but you might want to have them for certain emulators and games. So that's definitely worthwhile to have. Let's see if we can play a little bit of Sonic and Knuckles. I have to admit I haven't played that game ever. I played the original Sonic, of course, and some other Mega Drive games. Ah, look at that. But I must say, yeah, feels nice. And I don't feel any lag, honestly, so this is pretty good. I mean, I am playing through the capture device here, so there is definitely some lag. Okay, that kind of works. Let's try maybe another game, Super Mario Kart. But I already have to say that it seems nice. And also here on the Super Nintendo emulation, the gamepad just works fine. So my driving skills on Super Mario Kart are not the best, and this is not down to the controller. Definitely not. As I said, I'm playing through the capture device, which adds considerable lag. If you play this on a modern television, it's probably much better, but definitely not that much lag due to the Bluetooth controller. This seems to be pretty fast. I'm sure some pro gamers will notice some lag, but for me it's actually absolutely perfectly fine. And yeah, I can throw any emulator on the RetroPie at this, which uses the gamepad, and it will work. There are others, of course, like the Amiga emulator or ScumVM, which require mouse or keyboard, and that won't help there. They can do a little bit of keyboard emulation, like cursor keys and stuff, but this doesn't depend on the M30, but more on the RetroPie setup. So all in all, this seems to work really well, and I like the build quality. As for the Mega Drive, so this is my Mega Drive 2, which is basically just a shrunk down version of the original Mega Drive with almost no hardware changes at all, and it's already a bit dusty. It's nearing its 30-year anniversary. So basically this is as simple as it gets. You only have to plug it in here, and when you power up the machine, I'm not plugged in right now, but when you power up the machine, this will be powered as well, and you can then pair both devices by turning this on, putting it into pairing mode, and also pressing here the pairing button, and it will pair. Make sure that your RetroPie or your Mac or whatever is turned off or disconnected from the 8bitdo, otherwise you will have a bit of a hard time as well. So switching between different devices is always a bit clumsy with Bluetooth. So yeah, but you might also consider, of course, having more than one controller. But that gets expensive very quickly, and I for one will first use this on the Mega Drive and the RetroPie exclusively. Okay, let's have a look at some Mega Drive games and how they behave. Well, it's no surprise that the controller also works pretty well on the Mega Drive, and also here I don't experience a lot of lag. I can play pretty well here. The pairing was pretty flawless. You have to make sure, as I said before, that no other devices are currently paired with the controller, and when you power on the Mega Drive, the adapter will get power, and you press the pairing button once and also press the pairing button on the M30 controller, and then in a few seconds the connection will be made. One thing to note though is whenever you switch cartridges you turn off the Mega Drive, and every time you do that you will have to turn on the controller manually again, which takes like 2 or 3 seconds to establish a connection. So there's definitely a little drawback compared to wired controllers actually. But other than that, it works really well, so I didn't do any firmware upgrades yet. So I think it's pretty stable. So what do I think of the 8bitdo M30? I think it's a very good controller. It's well worth the money, and I think it works well, and especially nice in this version, because there's another version with 2.4 GHz which comes with such a receiver, is that this version here has Bluetooth. The 2.4 GHz version does not. It has a proprietary receiver. This is more or less a Bluetooth receiver, I think. And so this version here you can use with the Raspberry Pi, with Windows, with Mac, and also with the Mega Drive, with the original Mega Drive. Probably even the Master System, I guess. And hope that I can get it even to run on the Atari 2600 with some adapter in between to get the power actually in there. but as I said, this will be for another day. So it is very nice. Pairing it and switching between consoles is a bit finicky, but this is not so much a problem of the 8bitdo itself, because this is a problem of all Bluetooth devices. The only other thing that's a bit of a problem is with RetroPie, that this 6-button controller, per default it only works with 4 buttons in RetroPie. This is another limitation of the RetroPie, not of the device itself. You need an alternate driver, which I was too lazy to install. So I couldn't get the C and Z buttons to work right out of the box. And as you've seen, the trigger buttons here, or the shoulder buttons, only work if you boot it up in something like Android mode or similar. So these are the small drawbacks, but even in the default configuration, this works fine. So this about wraps it up, and I hope you can make now an informed decision about whether this is the controller that you want for your RetroPie or Retro console. I definitely like it, and I think at the moment it's probably the best controller that I can buy for this purpose. And yeah, if you like this video, please do leave a comment. Definitely subscribe so that you don't miss out on other videos. And hit the like button or the dislike button if you didn't like the video. In any case, I hope you enjoyed it, and see you next time.